John, you're going to have to walk the listeners through what you were talking about in terms of the Joe Rogan and the Jorge Masvidal podcast. Great listen, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. But why don't you tell us exactly where they were kind of headed with a little bit of the rules change and how he thinks the rules favors wrestlers.
That was the whole thing. And really it starts at about 2 hours and 10 minutes in. Right about there is when you'll find this section where Jorge really talks about, well, if you're looking, he says, basically the rules favor the wrestler. And if you look and you can say, in some ways they do. And in other ways, Josh, let's just be honest, it favors the striker, because every round, where does George get to start?
Yep. On the feet.
He gets to start on his feet. Okay. That's a huge advantage. No matter if that grappler had you in mount and was raining down blows, that bell goes off, you get back to your feet. It's not that they put you back in that position. And trust me, that was talked about of, hey, you can give him the break, but we're going to put him back in the same position. And it was, no, not going to do that. Well, you're giving an advantage to the striker. Yes, we are. Okay. Now, are there advantages to grapplers? Yeah, I do believe that he's absolutely right in that knees on the ground would change things for some strikers. You cannot hide the same or put yourself into those same positions. If a knee on the ground to the head is a legal strike, well, then guys aren't going to hang out in the same position because they can't. And this is done all the time. It was done in Pride. It's done in Ryzen. It's done in ONE FC. And you can see, what is done. Now, the biggest problem with this is perception. And perception's always been our problem. But, the original unified rules, Josh, we did those back in April of 2001. It's almost April of 2023. So we're talking, 22 years without really a huge change in the rule set. And it's part of the problem is going to be that you're going to get regulators that go, oh no, because they're comfortable with the rule set that we have. And they look and say, can a fighter be hurt with a knee strike to the ground? Well, of course they can. Of course they can. But they can be hurt with the same knee strike in the standing position. And that's legal. But it's what they're comfortable with, because they're going to start looking at it in the realm of, can it hurt a fighter? What's liability? Is it going to change a fighter being able to come after my commission saying that I allow them to be hurt when before they weren't allowed to be hurt, but now we changed the rules. And because of that change in the rules, they were injured based upon a knee to the head on the ground. So do I think that George has a very good point in that knees to the head of a grounded fighter should be looked at? I do. I think he's right. I think he's 100% right in that we always need to be looking at improving or altering the rules for the betterment of the sport, for the betterment of the fans, the betterment of the fighters. In some cases, it can't be the betterment of every fighter at every moment, because there's going to be one fighter that's going to be benefiting from something while another fighter is the person receiving the blow. They're not being benefited. So you can't say it's for everyone, but it does open up the fight more. Someone cannot hide in those positions. And, George made certain things about, positions where you'll see guys coming in on a single and holding, with their hands on a single leg and their heads flat down. And he's saying, in that position, I sprawl out, I can bring a knee. Pretty hard to do. Not saying it's, everything as things are in motion, you can always do things, but, to sit there and say you can strike someone in certain positions, going to be hard. But you will not see people giving themselves, the classic one, if you look at it, is look at the hand drag. Look at John Jones at the start of, a fight when he would drag the hand out. And he did it with Rashad. He did it with Quentin. He did it with Vitor. He did it with all kinds of guys, right? And he did that hand drag. And you look and you go, that wouldn't work now, would it? Because what's that person going to do? They're going to run across and go whack. They're going to hit you in the head because you're putting your head right in the position for them to do it. So it would take that dumb element, and it's a dumb element, away. And so it's a good thing in certain ways. I don't know. How do you feel as a guy that was a fighter, a guy that fought with the unified rules, a guy that fought in pride rules? What do you see?
I've always been a huge fan of the knees on the ground. Always. I think it's created action. It creates action. Not only does it create action, it gives the fans really what they want to see. They want to see more knockouts. And they want
that's not helping the case.
I get what you're saying, but it creates more action. But then here's the thing. It'll create more knockouts in the beginning because fighters will have to make that. They'll have to adapt.
You're gonna have to adapt,
and it's going to take them some time. Look at DJ when he fought Moraes in his last the very first fight. Because he had adapted. You could see it adapted, but he got caught in a position that over years, for the last however many years, he felt safe. And this is one of those positions he thought he was on his way up, and it just wasn't. And boom, got knee in the face and lights out. Now he made the adjustment, came back even stronger, got the win, and now they're going to fight for the third time. I look at that. It's going to take fighters some time to make those adjustments. There's certain things that I think that fighters, this is one of them. This is the main one to me that needs to make an adjustment. Is the knees to a grounded opponent. If someone has their hands down or they're tempting me like that, how John, like you were saying, walks out, I think I should be allowed. If you're going to test me like that, I should be allowed to kick you in the face. But I'll take a knee, though, instead of a kick to the face. I'll take a knee. Now, I'm not saying we should be soccer kicking people in the head. There's a big difference between the soccer kick to the head and I think the knee to the ground opponent.
All right, what's the big difference? What's the big difference?
I really honestly, I couldn't tell you.
Okay,
I just brought that up and said,
I'll explain it. But no, it is because a lot of people said there's no difference. There's a huge difference.
Okay.
And usually, and this is the reason there's the big difference, the soccer kick to the head. When we talk about soccer kick, we're saying that because it's like someone's head is the soccer ball and you're going to kick it through the goal. And it instinctively always happens when a fighter is seriously hurt. That's when it's effective. That's when they put themselves in. They don't know exactly where their body's at. They don't understand the position that they're in, and they don't have the ability to defend themselves from the blow because right now they're in slow motion while their opponent is running at normal. And it's a situation where you put someone in a place where they get hurt. They can go down to their hands and knees, and now you allowed someone to punt or soccer kick their face. Yeah, it's not good for the health and safety of the fight.
Do you look at it as like I saw someone in the chat say that it's the wind up. You can wind up and actually, like you said, step back and throw a hard kick
and go. Oh yeah.
With the knees to the grounded opponent. Normally I'm clinching you and I'm trying to knee you from that position.
And usually it's multiples and it's a volume attack.
Yep.
And the main part of it is it normally doesn't knock you out. It makes you move. It makes you change. You can't stick with being the person that's trying to hold in a position because I'm safe here, because my face is flat down. Really, I can put my hands, if I'm not holding on to the head, I can hide my face going flat down. There's nowhere for the opponent to really attack my head. So it's a good position. If you can't be hit, then it's good defense, even if it's the rule that's protecting you. And that's where they're looking and saying, well, it should be that there is the ability for the person, no matter if they're the striker or a grappler in that position, to be able to inflict some type of damage upon their opponent to either make them move or to finish the fight.
Now, here's the next portion of this, though. In that conversation with Rogan and Masvidal, that there was some talk about potentially being able to knee the top of the head, the back of the head, the back of the neck. And that to me is very dangerous, John. I've always felt this way because this is something I used to do early in my career. Is I would take if I would have full guard, I'd hold your head and I would chop you with like the inside of my wrist, kind of my thumb area, right at the base of your skull. And I remember people I would train with, I would do it. They say, "Hey, don't do that, man. Like I'm getting flash knockouts."
Yeah, exactly. You start, dude. You see it; it starts to pop you.
And so, and it wasn't. And I'm in guard from my back doing this, and I would be hitting, and I'd start chopping, and I would do that early in my career in the UFC. It was with Hermes. I did it, I believe, and then there was somebody else I did it with also. I think it was Rob McCullough, I believe, in the WFA. I can't remember. There was another fight that I had done it quite a bit in.
Yeah.
And it was very effective.
Are you kidding me? Rob McCullough was on top of you in a fight?
I must have fell. I must have fell.
Okay, there you go.
I believe early in that fight, I tried to jump flying triangle and I ended up on the bottom against the fence. Yeah. It was something like that. Anyways, but it's that little chopping. I do recall it having, there was a lot of it had a positive effect for me on me getting back up to my feet because they would back out of the guard almost like, hey, what the hell was that? Yeah. And it's kind of funny that I don't really think of it, but you think of every movie, right? Where does the person take the butt of the gun and hit you? The back of the neck or the back of the head. They hit you right there on the base of that spine, or or the base of where the brain goes into the spine. Yeah, that's exactly what it. Go ahead.
This is where you look and Joe was the one that brought up. I think hey, you should be able to be hit to the back of the head, and it's like, yeah, you say that until you see the end result, and you can't. Sometimes guys will say things based upon, and I used to say it too. It's like, hey man, the more open it is, the more better it is. But I was there for when we allowed hits to the back of the head, and you could see where it affected people. And then we have fighters, we have boxers, go back in October of 2015, Pritchard Colon was fighting Terrell Williams. And in that boxing match, he was complaining to the referee that Terrell Williams was hitting him to the back of the head. And the referee was like, no, this is good blow. And he warned Terrell Williams, but it got to the point where Colon was really, you could see, altered. And even the commentators thought he was acting. In fact, they said something about an Academy Award performance. Come on, this and that. Well, let's be honest. Pritchard Colon went down, and he had traumatic brain injury. He had swelling on the brain. He had a subdural hematoma, and it was from being hit to the back of the head. Now, he lived through the experience, but he's never been the same. And you can't have, you're going to wait until, you have an MMA fighter where the same thing happens because we allow that. No, this is not a good thing. The doctors, when we went through the whole thing, it was called the occipital junction, where the neck and the head that was what they were truly concerned with. And Masvidal talked about, back in the days, guys would, they wouldn't just sit there, because you could take elbows and bring elbows straight down to that occipital junction. Mm-hmm. He goes, and people had to move. And he's right. People had to move. But it was also incredibly dangerous for that person. Yes, we saw Royce Gracie do it. We saw early fighters do it. You can go back to the Gracie in action tapes, and you'll see all of them at a certain point get someone's back and start dropping elbows on them. But luckily, nothing happened in those situations. Yeah. That was a permanent injury. But that permanent injury can definitely occur. And we've seen it occur even in boxing. You don't want that to happen. And so hitting to the back of the head, no. That's one that needs to stay the same. I totally agree with the knees being part of the equation. I think it's something that needs to be looked at. I would love for it to be part of the talk and for it to someday come back. I'm not sure it will, but I think it is something that should be investigated and studied.
Well, then let me ask you this, because apparently I've heard the rule changes are not changing for ONE FC when they go to Denver, because the Denver commission apparently is like, whatever, we'll just throw the fucking rules right out and let's just go ahead and let the knees go to the down opponent. So if ONE does come, they're pretty much stuck doing their events in Denver or in Colorado, because they're the only commission that allows knees to a down opponent.
That's right.
Which is kind of shocking to me.
But again, how many times have I told you, each one of these commissions is a kingdom unto itself. They can do what they want. They'll sit there and they'll say that we're part of the Association of Boxing Commissions of Combative Sports. That's what MMA is governed by. And, we're part of that. Yeah. But to make money, and this is what it's about. And unfortunately, people, when you look at things, the world runs on people making money and wanting to make money. And so why are they making this change in their rule set? Is because they don't get a lot of big fights. ONE FC says, hey, we'll come multiple times. That puts money into the Athletic Commission's fund. That way they can actually perpetuate themselves for another year. So it's business, and that's the way they looked at it.
So the needs of the down opponent, that's a rule change we'd like to see change. And I obviously would like for since the beginning of this stupid ass rule, this fucking 12 to 6 thing, it's got to just go. It's got to go. That's got to go right away. That should have been gone a long time ago.
I don't know. You got some people you train with, they say, "Oh no, that's horrible."
Yeah, I don't know who those people are. That's something DC said?
Yes.
Of course. My guy, man. I get it. I get what he's saying though.
I love him.
But let's be honest. Why did they do that? Why? You have the story behind that with Lorenzo Fertitta. Tell us the story behind that.
Well,
12 to 6 elbow.
The true story of it is there was a doctor in New Jersey. His name was Dom Coletta. I'm going to say his name. He's a good guy. Dom Coletta. And you can see Dom Coletta in all kinds of big time fights. He did like Ward Gotti in the second and I think it was second and third fights. He was the ringside physician for it. I don't see him in any of those pictures that you are showing right there. Dominic Coletta.
There you go.
So, but it put New Jersey State Athletic Commission ringside physician. Then it should come up.
There we go.
But anyway, so in that, he was the main thrust of trying to alter things, and as far as saying that's Dom Coletta right there. There you go. And good guy. He's actually a really good guy. He's a friend of mine. I like him. He's really changed his opinion on certain things. But you got to figure, back in 2001, he had done one MMA show. Well, he had done two. Excuse me. He did one that was the IFC, which Paul Smith was the promoter of, and he did one UFC. And so everything that he saw was based upon those fights. And he had one fight that was, Gan McGee, someone well.
Yep.
6'11", 330 pounds at the time, because they didn't have any weight classes. Heavyweight, you go to whatever you wanted. And he's fighting a guy named Brad Gabriel. Brad's like 6 foot, about 220, 25 pounds. Wow. And in that fight, Gan McGee just is throwing Brad around because Gan was a pretty good wrestler. He wasn't bad. And he gets to a position where he has basically he's got him down with his head there, and he starts taking a knee and taking that leg, 6'11" leg is going back and then coming slamming into his head. And Dom Coletta looked and went, "Oh my God, I can't have that." Well, he also saw those elbow strikes straight up and down. And part of what he said was, I even have a friend that in karate, they break giant blocks of ice.
Oh my God.
With those kind of things. I said, don't bring that crap. But in the end, it was, I tried to alter it. And what I came up with was, I said, Dom, you're telling me that your biggest problem is straight up and down from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock on a clock. That straight down action is what you just can't have, right? And he's going, "No, I can't have that." And I said, "So if I take one and I throw an elbow back, we'll say 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, you're okay with that?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm fine with that." And so if I take and I throw an elbow and I bring it from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, that's okay. He goes, "That's fine." 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock, fine. Yes. 11:30 to 5:30, no problem. So I said, "No problem." Okay, well, I said, "No problem," because Lorenzo Fertitta told me, "John, enough, stop. Just let it go. It's stupid." And so we ended up saying, okay, straight up and down, you could not throw that elbow in. And I came up with the 12 to 6 based upon the clock. And then we had incidents where guys would sit there and say, "Well, if the clock's on the ceiling," and it's like, who fucking puts a clock on a ceiling? But yeah, this is where people will come up with stuff. But that entire thing, I can throw that same elbow strike from any other position. It's the same strike and it's legal, but I can't do it straight up and down. It's the dumbest thing ever.
Well, I mean, like, there are some rules that need to be changed.
Yep, there are.
I would love to see knees to a down opponent being changed. I like to see the 12 to 6 elbow thing being changed. I'd also like to see a little bit of an adjustment to what we talked about on the fence grab or the illegal motion, the illegal eye pokes, those type of things. If I'm grabbing you and trying to take you down and you hit the ground and I'm still in a position where you're kind of on one knee, kind of on your butt a little bit, and then you separate us, I should be able to return back to that position. I'm going to give an example. Leon with Kamaru.
Yeah.
He got the point taken away, but I should have been able to go right back to where I was. Kamaru was on that leg. Kamaru was on the body still, and Leon was still against the fence. That's where I would like that fight to return.
Well, you're gonna get some, and Herb is one of the guys. Herb feels like that he's double dipping you. If he takes a point and puts you back in the same position, he's double penalizing that fighter that committed the foul. And I go, absolutely not. No. All I'm doing is taking the point. So if I take the point on the fly, it's okay that they stay in the same position. But if I stop it and bring them up and take the point and put them back in the same position, then it's worse. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's right. I think it's the wrong way of looking at it. I think that Kamaru should have been put back into that position, and it is well within your right to do it. Yeah. You will find some people that'll sit there and, oh no, that's like double jeopardy. No, it's not. Yeah. But that's just a matter of opinions too.
It's not double jeopardy. You shouldn't have grabbed the fence.
Well, this
you broke the rule. You broke the rules. You shouldn't have grabbed the fence. I'm a huge Leon fan, but in that situation, when I saw that, he should have been put back. Now, I did notice in the fight, the fight the week before or 2 weeks before that, where there was the fence grab, and then the fighter ended up on top because of the fence grab. You're obviously not going to put the fighter back on top of the person and give him the advantage. Exactly. So then that's when I would put them standing.
Okay. And so I think in that, if you're going, instead of taking the point, even if, I want you to think about this, even if the referee stops it and takes a point, what were you grabbing the fence for, Josh?
To cheat.
No, not to cheat, to keep yourself from being put on the ground.
Yeah, to stop the takedown.
And so guess what you did, even with the taking of a point? You stopped being put on the ground. You have kept the fight in a position where you feel more comfortable in the fight, right? Mm-hmm. That should not ever be part of it. I look in and I say, look, if you get to what happened with Davy Grant and Rafael Assunção, you have that, you see that scramble, and he ends up on top. Stop. I'm not going to take a point, but I'm going to put Davy Grant on the ground. I'm going to put Assunção in a half guard position on top, over, under, both guys, start. Now you ended up exactly where you did not want. And I didn't take a point to make it to where you can't win this round, really. The best you can do is draw. Get yourself out, no problem. But right now, the referees can't do that. There is no rule in place for them to do that. But I think you'd be giving them an additional bit that they could control the fight more without taking that point, which sometimes they look at taking of a point in a 3-round fight. Yeah, God, that's a lot.
That's horrible.
And you're doing everything you can not to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but if guys started learning that, hey, man, I'm going to end up on my back with a guy on top of me if I grab that cage, then guess what? I think they might stop doing it as much. Yeah. Not completely, but quite as much. Yes.
I agree. All right. Well, hey, that's going to wrap up our conversation on the Joe Rogan.
Oh, no. Hold on. One more thing before you go. Joe, I love you. Get rid of that damn football field thing. Joe keeps on saying, "Oh, the cage and stuff." Look, if you're gonna mimic a fight in the street, we've got cars, we've got fire hydrants, I've got walls, I've got all kinds of things out there. Look, the reason there's a cage or a ring is so people can actually have seats and be part of the fight. You can't put it in a football field. And again, you're going just with one promotion. The UFC could possibly sell a football arena. Okay. Mm-hmm. Other than that, we have regional, we have, grassroots. They can't get a football field. Okay. Stop with that.
No, but John, why is
not the problem?
I think the idea is that you should have a space that is bigger, and then it doesn't necessarily have a fence.
And right? You ask promoters, hey, do you want a bigger space? And the first thing they're going to say is, fuck no, that takes tickets away.
Yeah.
And those are all expensive tickets.
I look at it this way too. It's like, you put me in a football arena and I got great cardio. I'm running around quite a bit. I'm gonna make you tired before, because I can run, and especially when I was in shape. We'll be doing some running, buddy.
We'll be moving around.
Yeah. I'm gonna make you move.
100% agree. Okay.